It is my duty to announce that an executive session was held at 6:30 this evening to discuss personnel and legal issues. At this time, I ask everyone to please stand for the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin the roll call vote, I just want to inform everyone here that we have two board members who are going to be with us via the phone. So you won't see them here, but they will be here on the phone. If they have something to say that you can't hear them, we'll repeat it. So at this time, Mr. Borowski, we have the roll call.
Mr. Hauser?
Here.
Mrs. Kozer? Here. Mr. LaCasio?
Here.
Mrs. Maines? Here. Mr. McCummins? Absent. Mr. Music?
Here.
Mr. Palmer?
Here.
Mrs. Surratt? Here. Dr. Zorch?
Right now on the clock.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to ask for Dr. Deckers, Superintendent.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. LaCasio. I would like to thank everybody for attending this evening. A copy of the Greater Latrobe School District's updated continuity of education plan has been made available to all attendees here this evening. This evening, our Board of Education will be voting on 3 updated plans: our phased school reopening health and safety plan, our continuity of education plan, and our return to play plan for voluntary off-season workouts. As before, once board approved, these updated plans will be posted on our district website and submitted to the Pennsylvania Department of Education. I cannot stress enough that these plans are fluid. As you are aware, they can change and be modified as we continue to receive updates from the Center for Disease Control, the Pennsylvania Department of Education, World Health Organization, American Academy of Pediatrics, and our local medical healthcare experts. It was very clear from our surveys that were completed by parents and guardians and hearing public comments at our June 30th meeting that the vast majority of individuals support and want our students going back to a brick and mortar setting full-time 5 days a week this fall. After our board meeting on June 30th, a meeting was held with a local team of medical experts to review our continuity of education plan and our phased school reopening health and safety plan. The medical experts panel includes Dr. Michael Zorch, Latrobe Area Hospital emergency room physician who is now retired, and Greater Latrobe School District Board of Education President, who is joining us via telephone this evening. Dr. Christine Armanius, Excella Health Diagnostic Associates at Latrobe and Greensburg. Dr. Elizabeth Cottrell, Children's Community Pediatrics, Mountain View. Dr. William Jenkins, Westmoreland Emergency Medicine Specialist, Frick Hospital. Dr. Jill Kowalski, Excella Square, Latrobe Primary Care. Dr. Thomas Maroon, Children's Community Pediatrics, Mountain View. And Dr. Stephen Mills, Excella Square, Latrobe Primary Care and Greater Latrobe School District Physician. We are beyond fortunate to have these individuals assist us in providing suggestions on the safest way possible to return to brick and mortar full-time and to keep us updated on what is occurring pertaining to the coronavirus in our local community. During our meeting, questions were posed pertaining to the contraction and transmission rate of the coronavirus in our local school community with our children. Based on available evidence, children do not appear to be at a higher risk for COVID-19 than adults. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, as well as Children's Hospital Association, the cumulative numbers of COVID Child-19 cases reported nationwide represented 7.9% and an overall rate of 279 children per 100,000. After the conclusion of our meeting with the medical experts, the entire medical panel vocalized the support and the need for our students to return to brick and mortar school full-time, 5 days a week. Therefore, updates were made to our plans, and you can see those updates that are in yellow. Our updated plans reflect the order of the Pennsylvania Department of Health requiring universal face coverings. These revisions also take into consideration recommendations from the Pennsylvania Department of Education that were released on July 16th. The term face covering is defined according to the same definition provided by the Pennsylvania Department of Health and should be understood to be synonymous with the term mask. In our updated plans, all students will wear face coverings on the bus, in our hallways, and in other gatherings when unable to socially distance 6 feet from others. All students may remove face coverings when eating, drinking, and being outdoors while maintaining social distancing. Upon entering the elementary classrooms and being seated for instruction, elementary students may remove their face coverings. However, if working in small groups and unable to social distance, face coverings must be worn. Medical research has showed that adolescents 12 years and older, or junior and or senior high school students predominantly, have an increased risk of contracting and transmitting the virus to others. Additionally, secondary students will be moving throughout the building frequently, changing classes, and will be in contact with several groups of students and teachers throughout the day, as opposed to our elementary students who will be remaining in their classroom and teachers will be rotating to their classrooms. Therefore, with the secondary, more strict face covering guidelines for secondary students will be imposed while in the classroom setting. Secondary students will wear face coverings during classroom instruction, but will be provided with mask-free intervals throughout the day. These mask-free intervals may include times when students are working independently in large group areas and able to social distance 6 feet from others. In the future, face coverings may be allowed to be removed for secondary students after the district can be reassured that students, while in the classroom, can maintain social distancing of 6 feet and the incidence of COVID in the school population does not rise after school starts. Faculty and staff members who cannot maintain social distancing of 6 feet and or are required to be in close proximity to our students for instruction, therapy, or treatment must wear a face covering to limit exposure. As stated during our board meeting on June 30th, we have a devised hybrid model if local circumstances dictate the need to move to a more restrictive action. All parents and guardians should have received a letter from their child's or children's building principal or principals explaining the rotation their child or children would be on if we would need to move to a hybrid model. I ask that if there are any specific questions pertaining to the hybrid model, that individual parents and guardians would reach out to your child's principal regarding specific questions. Again, the hybrid model would be used in a worst-case scenario. Additionally, yesterday afternoon, parents and guardians received a form through email to be completed for returning student registration that asks if your child will be returning to brick and mortar or full-time online instruction with GLSD. We ask that this form be completed and submitted no later than Monday, August 3rd, so administrators and teachers can plan accordingly for students returning to brick and mortar or choosing full online instruction with GLSD. Our GLSD online model will provide synchronous online instruction for your child with your child's teacher and classmates. Additionally, options will be provided for asynchronous instruction as well. Please refer to the district website under the tab Our Schools GLSD Online for more information about our online program. The question has been asked, can I change my mind if I want my child to come back to brick and mortar or vice versa? And the answer is yes. However, the decision for how your child will start school needs to be made by August 3rd so we can plan accordingly. Again, if there are individual questions or requests about your options, please reach out to your child's building principal. EWCTC students will be attending the EWCTC in person regardless whether we are in full-time brick and mortar or if we would need to move to a hybrid model. If your child has special learning needs or medical needs, please contact Lori Galovish, our Director of Pupil Services. If we fall back to a red phase, it is inevitable that we will be in a full-time online instructional model for all students. In closing, as we sit here today, we will be returning to brick and mortar full-time this fall. However, all of our plans remain fluid based on state guidelines and local circumstances. I appreciate your patience and support as we navigate these unprecedented times. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Becker. At this time, we'll have hearing of visitors part 1. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak about any item on our agenda tonight. There will also be time at the end of the meeting to discuss any other concerns. So at this time, anyone would like to come up to address the board, you may do so now. Please remember to give us your name and address. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Felicia McCrane, and I live at 2025 Timbercrest Drive, Greensburg. 2 questions. With the students being in the classroom and the amount of students, is it going to be possible to space the students 6 feet apart when they're not in small groups if they're not wearing masks?
The answer to that is yes, and if the classroom prohibits that those students would be moved to a larger group area.
May I add to that?
Absolutely.
That's why it's so important that we have an accurate number by August 3rd, because we've got to be able to check every one of those classrooms to make sure everything's going to work.
Very good. And my second question is, are vacations being monitored for appropriate student quarantine upon return?
Yes, they are. They are actually, this question came up when we met with our medical expert team, and currently we are doing it even with our students who are voluntarily participating in play or athletics. And any student, we are asking and requesting any student who is choosing to go on a vacation that the parent contacts the building principal for that student, and determination will be made on a case-by-case basis pertaining for the need to quarantine. An example, if somebody is driving out to Ohio to visit their grandmother who has not been in large groups, etc., low risk, that would look a lot different than somebody flying in a plane to a large beach in Miami.
Very good. I do have one more question. This is a little bit futuristic and may not be able to be answered at this time, but when a vaccine becomes available, would it be mandated, given the severity of this virus, for children that are participating in brick and mortar schools to receive a vaccination?
I'm going to turn that over to Lori Galovish, our Director of Pupil Services.
Sure. As a public school district in Pennsylvania, we're required to follow all immunizations requirements set forth by the Department of Health. So we would be looking toward the Department of Health to follow any updated vaccination requirements.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to add also, if any staff member is going to be going on vacation or a long weekend, we are requesting information about that too, so then we make the determination whether there's a need to quarantine.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. I'm going to move for adoption of resolution number 1, the approval of the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. I move for adoption of resolution number 2, the temporary suspension of board policy.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments? Dr. Tepper, would you mind just briefly explaining what that
Sure,
change is?
absolutely. This suspends the policy that we have to meet in brick and mortar for Board of Education meetings and permits us to have attendance at meetings via electronic communications.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries. Mr. Nichols, Solicitor's Report. Thank you. Mrs. Maines, Education and Planning.
Thank you. We'll begin with the enrollment report. Mr. Barranco, do you have any updates for us?
The only thing of note is just our kindergarten numbers. We are sitting at 207 students coming to kindergarten at this point. It's July. I imagine those numbers will tweak a bit. Again, as our plan gets refined and we get closer to that time, but I don't know that it's going to change too much at this point. So 207, and that's very evenly split among the 3 buildings.
Thanks. Thank you. I move for adoption of
Yeah,
resolution.
wait. Yes,
Hold on.
go ahead, Dr. Zorich.
If it's for a regular time, what do you think the attendance would be in kindergarten?
Well, that's a tough question, but I would say we'd be closer to 250 and 260 right now. Do you agree with me? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say we'd be closer to 250 or 260 right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Maines, please continue.
Okay. I move for adoption of resolution number 3 as stated.
So moved.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries.
I move for adoption of resolution number 4 as stated.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries.
I move for adoption of resolution number 5 as stated.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? That motion passes.
I'm going to bundle resolution number 6 and 7. They are both agreements with local universities where we allow our students to have affiliation. So resolution number 6 is the University of City of Phoenix. And resolution number 7 is Mount Aloysius. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? That motion passes.
And lastly, I move for adoption of resolution number 8 as stated.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? That motion passes.
And the next curriculum committee meeting will be held on Tuesday, August the 18th, 2020, here in the CSC at 5:30 p.m. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mrs. Baines. Mrs. Kozar, would you please take care of the finances?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of resolution number 9 to approve the payment of bills.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes.
Move for the adoption of resolution number 10 to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Our next finance,
Those opposed? That motion carries.
pardon, Mr. President. The next finance committee meeting will be Tuesday, August 11th at 5:30 at the senior high school library. That completes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer, Facilities, Operations, and Planning.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask the board to approve resolution number 11, award quotes and/or bids for 2020 capital improvement projects.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes.
And our next Facilities Operations and Planning Committee meeting will be Thursday, August 6, 2020, 3:30 p.m. at the admin building. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I ask for approval of resolution number 12 to approve the updated interscholastic athletic program's health and safety return to play plan for the 2021 school year and authorize administration to submit the plan to the Pennsylvania Department of Education and post publicly on the district website as required.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes. Next, Mr. Mears, you have an update for us.
Yes, we do. I'm excited this evening, and actually we wanted all our coaches here, but with the limited crowd capacities, obviously we ruled that out as an option. But the niche report came out for the year in June, and what it is, I'll give you a brief overview of what this report is and why this is such an exciting moment for us all, and especially in the athletic end of the school district. The niche report is a Pittsburgh-based company, and it uses a unique blend of scientists, engineers, parents, and fellow individuals throughout the community. Niche uses over 100 million ratings and reviews from real people, combined with 200,000 plus in-depth profiles on schools, companies, and neighborhoods. Data is taken from multiple sources that include the U.S. Department of Education, Common Core data from the National Center for Education Statistics, civil rights data collection, school attendance boundary surveys, and their own personal niche K-12 student and parent surveys. To date, niche.com has compiled more than 120 million ratings and reviews that include a variety of questions, such as open-ended and poll responses across their entire platform that give K-12 schools their niche grades. Niche.com is the leading online platform for amassing the most comprehensive coverage on K-12 schools and places to live across Westmoreland County and across the country. Within the past year, over 50 million people used niche.com to see where their school districts and communities rank nationwide. According to niche.com's most recent rankings, out of 497 public schools in the state of Pennsylvania, Greater Lake Trobe School District ranked 23rd with the best teachers, 24th in the safest schools in Pennsylvania, 26th in the best school districts for athletes, putting us all in the top 5% in those categories statewide. Along with that, Greater Lake Trobe also ranks the 31st best school district to teach in, as well as the 42nd best public school overall in the state of Pennsylvania, which puts us in the top 8%. On a national level, Greater Lake Trobe found ourselves among the best of the best. Niche.com research found Lake Trobe ranked 209 out of 11,725 school districts with the best teachers, which is the top 2%. 236 out of 11,130 best places to teach, also top 2%. 287 out of 11,823 safest schools, top 2%. 501 out of 10,782 best overall school districts in America, which is the top 5%. And athletically, 534th out of 10,815, which is the top 5% in the United States. Not only does the niche.com rank the school district statewide and nationally, they also rank locally by your county. Throughout Westmoreland County, Greater Lake Trobe, simply put, is right now the best. Out of 17 total school districts in the county, we rank first in the best places to teach, first in the best districts for athletes, first for the best teachers in Westmoreland County, and first as the best overall school district according to the niche rankings. So we're very excited about this, and the reason I brought this to the meeting tonight was 10 years ago, we came together as an athletic community and an athletic committee and a school district, and the concept of the reasoning behind the athletic complex is what would we have to do to help our kids with extracurricular activities become just as well-rounded as we were already in the athletic and the arts to complete the 3 A's. And we said back then we had to work, we called it a coaching seminar. All the coaches decided they needed to share athletes. 10 years ago, we had one athlete playing 3 sports. Today, probably 20% of them play at least 2. Maybe closer to 50% actually play 2. The coaches have done a fabulous job. The administration's done a great job. The foundation made it all possible, in my opinion. We had so many new teams with subpar facilities, no playing surfaces that would hold up. Everything was played at 4 o'clock. It was very difficult to get school spirit. Kids couldn't support each other. And it all changed over the last 6 or 7 years. And our goal was to achieve what we did, was to become the top in a lot of things, including athletics. So as the athletic director, this obviously for the coaching staff, my assistant Zach, who you saw handing out the surveys, we're very proud of this accomplishment. Now we need to sustain it. And we wanted to bring it to the attention to congratulate our coaches in the community and the parents, because they're the ones that put the miles on their cars, getting the kids to everything. So basically, it's our way of bringing this up to the community that we rank #1 in Westmoreland County. But I didn't get a raise.
Thank you, Mr. Mears.
I think, though, that we just have to add how important it is for the alumni, the folks in our city, in our town, in our county, in our school district, that played an important part of this. But you can't lose sight of the fact that, as Mark stated, 10 years ago, we were talking about what was happening in the district and how we were getting there, and we had great leadership. We continue to have great leadership, but we couldn't do this without all the folks here and without the foundation's help. And the Greater Latrobe Foundation has been the driving force over the last several years to help us get there, along with our staff and the rest of our teachers. And I just can't say that enough, and I just appreciate everything they've done. Thank you.
Could I just update one thing that Mr. Palmer said, is the Greater Latrobe Partners in Education.
There you go. I couldn't get it right.
Thank you. Because they've been a huge supporter of everything that we do, and all the 3 A's. But the complex behind the school was a big project for them.
And I think
With the
also,
community support.
I think with the, along with the academics and the arts, I think that played an important part of that whole, you know, the triumvirate of those three things coming together all at one time with the foundation's leadership and our leadership. I think it paid off, and it paid off in spades just from the numbers that Mark cited.
I'd like to add that I think we need to caution ourselves not to get complacent. You know, the foundation has been so wonderful in giving us grants every year that you get to the point where you expect it. We should never get there. We're very thankful for their support, and we could not do it without them. Okay, moving on, Mr. Music, Transportation.
Thank you. I'm going to defer to Dr. Tepper for some comments.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Music. There will be, bus routes will be posted later in August, once we actually receive, again, more information about the number of students who will be transporting themselves or parents versus how many will be being transported on buses, excuse me. Also, as I had stated at the last meeting, there will be a video that will be posted to our website, and you would be notified through our One Call Now that would show the drop-off and pickup alignment and arrangement for our junior and senior high schools who will be on the same bell schedule this year. So that is forthcoming. There is just more data that we need to collect to determine, to make certain that we're making the best decisions, and safety is paramount.
Thank you.
I have a question, please.
Go ahead.
We'll probably have a lot of kids driving, a lot of parents driving kids at the elementary school. What sort of plan do you have to keep going with that? That's in a good way to get on college.
For the-
I mean, I'm sure this is going to be a disaster to be sorted out. How are we going to get all those kids on the drive? Especially with that occupant kids and going to be some kind of system set up, and this sort of thing that we're looking at before we do essential nightmare kids on the bus.
But for those of you who couldn't hear that, Dr. George's question basically is we anticipate a lot of students driving to school and parents dropping kids off and picking them up. What plans do we have in order to control traffic around the building?
And that's a great question. We continue to meet administratively. In fact, this past Friday, we actually met with DMJ Transportation again and talking about the drop-off and pick-up for parents and the routes that the buses would come. With the elementary students, again, as well, we're looking at, we need to collect the data from the parents. If the survey was pushed out yesterday, and again, I ask, please complete that as soon as possible, because there was a question whether you would be transporting your child or not. Once we get that information, will help us better determine the best route for drop-off and pickup. We will also be working with Kirk Thomas, who is our Director of Facilities and Operations, who has also given suggestions for safety pertaining to the drop-off and pickup, especially right now that we're working with the junior, senior high. So changes or modifications in drop-off and pickup will definitely be relayed to parents prior to the start of the school year, once we have a better idea of the numbers that we are dealing with.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have Mrs. Maines, the Community Relations.
Thank you. The minutes for the meetings that were held on May 21st and June 18th of the Greater Latrobe GLSD Parks and Recreation Commission are posted for your perusal. And the next GLSD Parks and Recreation meeting will be held on Thursday, August the 20th in the Latrobe Municipal Building in Council Chambers at 4:30 p.m. You want me to keep going about you?
Please, thank you.
Okay. The next WIU meeting, the IU is still having virtual meetings July 28th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank
I have a
you.
question, please.
Go ahead, Dr. Zorch.
Mrs. Main, what sort of programs are going on for kids this summer? What is the kind of curious about?
Hold on. The question that Dr. Zorch asked was, what kind of programs are going on this summer? And what was the attendance?
Yeah, I don't think there are very many programs at all. Do you know anything about that?
Ms.
Is he talking about Parks and Rec, or is he talking about school district?
Dr. Zorch.
He's talking about the IU.
Are you talking about Parks and Rec or the district?
Parks and Rec.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. We held day camp. The pool opened on June 26th, and they're starting some of the other sports programs up as we speak. But a lot of them were canceled due to social distancing, et cetera, but they are starting to all revive themselves right now, so hopefully that continues.
For those of you in the audience, that question was pertaining to the park and recreation programs.
Correct. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Next is board policy, and the next board policy meeting is to be determined. Next, I'm going to ask Mrs. Kozar for the EWCTC Joint Operating Committee report.
Thank you. The next EWCTC Joint Operating Committee meeting will be Wednesday, August 19th at 7 p.m. at the EWCTC. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Kozar. Mr. Palmer, Technology.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our next technology committee meeting is, we had a meeting tonight, we had a meeting this evening, and the minutes will be attached to our next board meeting. And our next scheduled technology meeting will be Tuesday, September 15th, here at the CSC at 5:30 p.m. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. This time, we're going to have the superintendent's recommendations. Dr. Tepper?
Yes, thank you, Mr. LaCasio. Prior to asking for recommendations of resolutions, we do have some individuals who were hired at last month's board meeting and as new teachers here at Greater Lake Trent School District. So we would ask that if we could have them stand and we will recognize them, or you could come forward and introduce yourself. How about that?
Why not? Come forward. It's all part of the induction process. We have Amanda Heckel. Amanda will be come forward. Amanda will be in 6th grade at Mountain View Elementary. Give us 2 interesting facts about yourself, Ms. Heckel.
I'll wait for induction for that.
Say something.
Say hello.
Hello. I'm extremely excited. I am a graduate of Greater Latrobe, and I'm excited because I will be actually teaching one of the buildings that I attended when I was in elementary school. Thank you.
We have Molly Stein. Molly, where are you? Come on up front. Molly is assigned to Latrobe Elementary School, and she will be in charge of the emotional support classroom there at LES. She just completed a long-term position in emotional support at LES. So go ahead and maybe one fact or comment.
I'm really excited and honored to be a part of Greater Latrobe School District. Thank you very much.
Andrea Terrett. Andrea, I saw you over there too. Andrea is assigned to Latrobe Elementary School. She is a special education teacher plus an ESL teacher in our district as well. ESL is English as a second language. So go ahead, Andrea.
Hi, I'm Andrea Terrett. Fun fact, I guess if you want, I also work at Adams Memorial Library with my crew, so whoever's in there or haven't come, stop and say hi. I've also worked at the high school as well this past year with ESL students, and I believe will be maybe the high school as well this year again. I'm really happy to be part of the team. Officially, I guess, will be my 4th year with the district. I was a classroom assistant and autistic support for 2 or 3 years.
Did you say Action for Animals?
Adams Memorial Library.
I couldn't hear what you said.
I think I was supposed to stop it.
She can translate it for you, though, in like 37 different
I
languages.
did volunteer for Action for
I was trying to understand the
So
connection
there's-
between Action for Animals and what she was doing, and I was losing that connection there. But, okay, thank you.
And finally, we have Abby Conrad. I believe Abby is here. Abby is assigned to the senior high school. She is also a special education teacher as well. She's moving quickly to the front of the room to get this over with. Abby, you need to sing your alma mater for everyone.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't think anyone wants to hear that. I'm Abby Conrad. Like Mr. Prentice said, I will be at the senior high school. This will be my 4th year as well with student teaching, and prior to being hired at the senior high school, I was a fellow at Mountain View Elementary. So I'm super excited to continue my journey here at Greater Latrobe.
And you aren't with Action for Animals, either?
No, sir.
Just checking.
We will bring more new hires forward next month with vacations and things going on. We were to secure these 4 folks here tonight. So.
And I actually happen to, she doesn't know this, but see Abby, who was already setting up her classroom today at the senior high school.
So while we're torturing everybody, can you introduce Becky Pels's new position?
Yeah, yeah.
Becky? Yes, Becky Pellis is our new Director of Curriculum and Instruction and Technology, and Becky was hired at last month's board meeting. Becky Pellis was Mountain View Principal for 9 years here with the school district, and we're extremely excited to have her downtown. Dr. Robin Pinus has accepted a position, and we had mentioned this before, June 30th, and she will be greatly missed, and we wish her the best of luck. So thank you, Mr. Palmer. Okay, I ask the board to please move on resolution number 13 to approve resignations as stated.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? That motion passes.
I'd ask the board to please move on resolution number 14 to approve support personnel classified appointments as classroom assistants as stated.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 I'd ask the board...
Those opposed? That motion passes.
No, sorry. I'd ask the board to please move on resolution number 15 to approve professional personnel substitute teachers.
So moved.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? That motion passes.
And I would just like to announce that the Eastern Westmoreland Career and Technology Center will hold their graduation on Tuesday, July 28th at 7 o'clock p.m. There is limited attendance that will attend that graduation, but I just wanted to make certain to recognize our Career and Technology Center graduates and wish them the very best. Our board meeting dates for the upcoming months, I know it states that they will be in the Center for Student Creativity, but again, depending on social distancing and the number of individuals that may be attending, those could be moved to the auditorium. Please just always check our website for those postings and our advertisements. Our committee of the whole meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 11th at 7:30, and our regular board meeting Tuesday, August 18th at 7:30.
Dr. Tepper, is there any chance that the committee of the whole meeting might not be here? I'm just
possibility always exists.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. No, that's all, thank you.
All right, next we have hearing and visitors part 2. This is where anyone in the audience can come forward with any concerns they have. Once again, please state your name and address when you step up to the podium. There is a 5-minute time limit.
Good evening. My name is Will Brigham. Address is 204 Denali Drive, Latrobe. And I'm a bus driver for Latrobe. With the new bus patterns for the high school and junior high, one of the things that we've dealt with is last year is the student drop-off at the high school, usually in an inner circle. It starts off maybe pretty good at the first part of the year because maybe Officer Dar is out there, Mr. Mears was out there making sure that the parents didn't bring the kids into the outer circle where the buses were. But once these guys are gone, it's the first or second week, the parents always try to sneak in there, foul things up. Now, with junior and senior high coming together, I just want you to be aware of that and be looking to try to solve that problem, because inevitably one of those parents comes in there and blocks right in front of a bus that they're getting ready to pull out, and it just causes problems. Now, the bigger problem that I see coming up is the elementary. We're making announcements that a certain percentage of people are going to be driving their kids to school to keep them off the school buses. And I can only address this for Bagley because that's where I drop off my elementary kids. Especially on Monday mornings, when you have a faculty meeting down there, the parents and the buses are stacked there waiting for the okay to dismiss the kids. And I can see that the cars now put back down to 982, causing a traffic jam down here, where the buses coming from Youngstown side might not be able to even get to the school. So I don't know how you're going to address that, but I want to bring it to your attention. And then also hear on the chatter on the radio about over at LES, it seems like the same people over there are pulling in with their kids and screwing up the drop-off for the buses over there. And I'm not sure about how tight it is over at Mountain View, but those are things you've got to be taking into consideration with your plans. Okay?
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that, and we may have to look at staggered drop-off times, and I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Christina Armenius, 912 Hamilton Avenue, Latrobe. I have a question about busing. If we choose our students or our children to ride the bus and things are changing, can we change it to be drop-off, or it's set in stone?
That's a great question. You can change it, and if we are able to have notice, that's the best case scenario. But we recognize that emergencies come up. In fact, Mrs. Mears and I were talking about this half hour ago before the board meeting. So information will be sent out about that. If we have a notice, obviously that's great, but we also understand that there are emergency situations where a child may need to ride the bus for a day that their parents can't transport them.
Okay, so if you choose, like in the questionnaire, right, so if we chose bus, and then let's say things are changing, like even with the virus, and a parent doesn't feel comfortable on the bus anymore, they can reverse it and
Absolutely. Give us a phone call and we'll make record of it, and that assists us.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, and we're recognizing everybody this evening, Margie Pierce, can you stand up? Margie's our coordinator of transportation, who has worked extremely hard on the 2-bell schedule and continues to work on routing and working with the transportation company. And she will be integral in crunching the numbers and determining routes along with the drivers and DMJ transportation. Thank you, Margie.
Anyone else for hearing of visitors part 2? Okay, then not seeing any, I'm going to make a motion, we adjourn. I have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is